Fake websites, fake polls, fake news, fake leaks, the desperate maneuvers of the losing Hillary Clinton campaign. Yes, Virginia, there really is a poll fairly skewing the polls in favor of Hillary Clinton. Yesterday, I wrote about a brand new leak that had come my way. I read through the first 5 pages, confirming that the 2 entities in the document were genuine and were really in cahoots, and quickly got out the information that the polls we are seeing with Clinton in the lead are fake. But in full disclosure, I made a mistake. I really should have read the last 3 pages, because if I had, I wouldn't have published the document as a legitimate leak. It was full of outrageous Hollywood sci-fi salvage options for the campaign that included magnetized mind control and a fake alien invasion. It's interesting to note that all of those options actually do exist. DARPA experiments on things like that, and things even creepier. However, it seems far-fetched that the Clinton campaign would and could go that far, and even more so that a business that does polls and analyzes them would have experimented with these tactics. So I removed the post. There are enough lies and rumors going around the internet without me adding to them. That isn't the end of the story, though, because part of that document was legitimate. I began to do further research and discovered that the gist of the fake document was accurate. The polls in the MSM show that Hillary in the lead are being faked, and they're being bought and paid for. We're all being manipulated by the collusion of Hillary Clinton, the DNC, and the media, and of course I'll add my 2 cents in here, and George Soros, the elite cabal. Their attempts at predictive programming through fake polls is so blatant that even the most oblivious people have noticed that something seems awry. It has long been a successful method of propaganda to leave in just enough truth to make the lie seem viable. In Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler wrote, emphasis mine, quote, "All this was inspired by the principle, which is quite true within itself, that in the big lie there is always a certain force of credibility, because the broad masses of a nation are always more easily corrupted in the deeper strata of their emotional nature than consciously or voluntarily, and thus in the primitive simplicity of their minds they more readily fall victims to the big lie than the small lie, since they themselves often tell small lies in little matters but would be ashamed to resort to large-scale falsehoods. It would never come into their heads to fabricate colossal untruths, and they would not believe that others could have the impudence to distort the truth so infamously. Even though the facts which prove this to be so may be brought clearly to their minds, they still doubt and waver and will continue to think that there may be some other explanation. For the grossly impudent lie always leaves traces behind it, even after it has been nailed down, a fact which is known to all expert liars in this world and to all who conspire together in the art of lying." End quote. First of all, I found a copy of the disbursements from a Clinton-alleged super PAC called Priorities USA Action on the website Red Star Watcher. This looks so beautiful, it looks so credible, even has pictures of Trump at it, hard at his campaigning, and in top it says Clinton holds 11-point national lead over Trump, NBC Wall Street Journal poll. They should be ashamed of themselves. Total disbursements from July to September is almost $400,000. This shows that the super PAC paid the pricely, or should I say presidential sum of $391,250 for polls that were overwhelmingly positive to Clinton. These documents appear to be legitimate. The website Conservative Treehouse did get a great analysis and posted links to the FEC, Federal Election Commission, filing PDFs from the super PAC as well as screenshots. And there's links in the article if you want to see the PDF, pages 92 to 118, show that they did indeed make payments shown above. But when I did a reverse image search, I found the same thing on the following sites. And by the same thing, I mean exactly the same thing. And these sites with conservative sounding names are all relatively new sites. I checked on Alexa.com to see how long they'd been around. Aside from Red Star State Watcher, which is definitely legit and has been around for a long time, here's a rundown on a few of the others. USA Politics Now, it was there since May 2016. IncredibleUSAnews.com, not long enough for statistics to be available. Truthfeed.com was again since May 2016. Now, this doesn't say for certain these sites are fake ones, but put up by the opposition, it does cast some questions on their credibility. These stories are all based on a video alleged to be by Anonymous, but in actuality, the YouTube channel is Anonymous Patriots. Their first video was posted 7 months ago, March 16th, 2016. Other sources concur that the polls being broadcast by the mainstream are skewed or outright fake. A professor at State University of New York, SUNY, has been saying all along that Donald Trump was strongly in the lead. Back in February, Fortune magazine published an article by Dr. Northrup that showed, beside on his analysis, Trump had a 97% chance of winning the election. He still stands by this position. Dr. Helmut Norpoth wrote a post for The Hill explaining how these polls published by the MSN are misleading. Quote, "To start with is something basic. Opinion polls are really about opinions, not actions. At their best, they can tell us how people feel about political issues and personalities. Do voters, for instance, like or dislike candidates such as Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump? Yet having an opinion and acting on it are two different things. Barely 6 and 7 voting age American citizens turn out for presidential elections. Ascertaining the opinions of 100 citizens is just a start. Now you have to determine which 60 of them actually take the time to mark a ballot. They are the likely voters. They are the only ones that count. But to find them is no easy chore. It is ingrained in all of us that voting is civic duty. So nearly all of us say, oh yes, I'll vote. And then many will not follow through." End quote. Dr. Northrup is not alone in his claims that Trump is far, far ahead of Hillary Clinton. The website Government Slaves reported on a polling app called Zip back in August, quote, "Despite a majority of opinion polls showing the 2016 presidential election going to Democrat Hillary Clinton, a smartphone app developer says his data suggests challenger Donald Trump will be the victor. Quote, based on these stats, we see he looks strong, end quote, says Rick Militi, co-founder of San Diego-based Crazy Raccoons, maker of the Zip question and answer app. His app poses questions and polls responses based on the average of 100,000 daily users. Quote, I go with Trump based on what we see, end quote. Breitbart showed evidence of Reuters back-rigging the polls in Georgia to indicate a Clinton victory. Quote, speaking exclusively to Breitbart News, political polling pioneer Pat Cadell said that Reuters news service was guilty of an unprecedented act of professional malpractice. Quote, this comes as close as I've ever seen to cooking the results, end quote, said the legendary pollster and political consultant, adding, I suppose you can get away with it in the polling because there are no laws. But if it was accounting, they would put them in jail, end quote. He said, they look to me, as far as I can indicate, that they've merely decided to go back and revise their numbers in a formula that removes voters or allocates them. I'm not sure how they are doing this proportionately. Reuters has rejiggered its method in order to get the results they want, said the man whose out-of-the-box interpretations of the American electorate were the brainwork behind the insurgent presidential campaigns of Senator George McGovern in 1972, Georgia Governor Jimmy Carter in 1976, President Carter in 1980, and Senator Gary Hart of Colorado in 1984. The Millennium Report concurs about the poll rigging. Quote, In view of so much fake poll data that is systematically dumped into the public domain by the mainstream media, the American people being gradually conditioned to believe that Hillary Clinton is really ahead in this race. With each passing week, the Clinton numbers increase 5 or 10%, which would put her in the 175% of the populace by now. Yes, their contrivance of poll numbers is that ridiculous. 2016 election being rigged by the hour, polls fraudulent, Hillary Clinton popularity grossly exaggerated. These same fraudulent tactics were utilized during the Democratic primary with much success. Bernie Sanders' loss was a direct result of so much fixing and rigging, manipulating and scheming. That Bernie Sanders himself permitted all the fraud is the biggest scandal of all, particularly after he heartily endorsed Comrade Clinton for president. Such a transparent betrayal of his once loyal will most assuredly push many voters over to Trump. But here's the real conspiracy. I think there is a Clinton-based conspiracy to cast doubt on everything coming out of the opposition, which in turn reinforces everything coming from them. First of all, vet your sources. Here's how. When you see an article from a source you don't recognize, go over to alexa.com and paste in the homepage address. You'll see a chart that shows you how long the website has been around, and below that will be the global and national ranking of the site. This isn't conclusive, of course. There are legitimate new websites popping up all the time, but I have to think that some of these more outrageous, allegedly quote-unquote conservative websites could be new websites started by those who want Hillary Clinton to be in office. In other words, they're fake sites. These sites can perpetrate all sorts of wild rumors and fake documents, and this has a twofold effect. One, most importantly, these types of stories cast doubts on the real leaks that are out there. What better way to discredit the massive information being provided by WikiLeaks than to mix in a bunch of fake leaks? People without critical thinking skills will extrapolate from this, quote, this leak is fake, so all leaks must be fake. Holy cow, they're lying about our queen, Hillary, end quote. Second, crazy rumors being spread through conservative and libertarian sources make us all look crazy. If we are dispensing inaccurate information from questionable sources, then everything we say becomes subject to more doubt. The Gateway Pundit shows an actuarial review that determined Donald Trump could possibly be looking at a landslide victory. Quote, with all the liberal distortions and dishonesty, we decided to have a small team of actuarial and statistical professionals take a look at a couple of the recent polls to get their take on the reliability of these polls. They selected a recent Fox poll from October 14, showing Hillary up 7, and the Wall Street Journal NBC poll from October 16, a few days ago, showing Hillary with an 11-point lead. The first observation is that both polls are heavily skewed towards Democrats. At a high level, the Fox poll consists of 43 Dems to 36 Republicans to 21 other, while the NBC polls show 44 Dems to 37 Republicans to 19 other. By selecting more Dems in polls are designed to provide a Democratic result, of course. Our experts next analyze the data and calculate the results using the same data from the two surveys on a split of 40 Dems, 40 Republicans, and 20 other. The results show that using either set of data, Trump comes out ahead with a larger margin of victory using the Fox data. Clearly, the polls using data that is heavily weighted towards Democrat voters is incorrectly skewed, of course. It's difficult to determine what the independent voters will do, but many independent voters partook in the primaries to vote for Trump. Therefore, it is more likely that independent voters vote for Trump as well. If more Democratic voters vote for Trump than Republicans vote for Hillary, and more independent vote for Trump than Hillary, both scenarios which are highly likely, then the results of the general election, of course, will likely be a Trump landslide. It's easy to see how this supports the possibility of a stolen, rigged election. Remember during the debate when Donald Trump refused to say that he would accept the outcome of the election if it wasn't in his favor. Good for him. That's logical because he knows everything is fake and rigged. Going back to the article, not only has Camp Hillary Clinton been caught more than once rigging the election, they're redoubling their efforts in social perception, and here are a few ways they're doing it. They even stole the primaries from Bernie Sanders. And so here's how she's redoubling her efforts to social perception. 1. The discrediting of websites who are open about their dislike of Hillary Clinton. 2. The fake polls that assure everyone that Hillary Clinton victory is guaranteed. 3. The manipulation of public opinion through false reporting in the mass media, mainstream media. 4. Potentially putting up websites with fake conservative names in order to spread misinformation in the hopes that other conservative websites will make the post go viral, then, quote, disproving, unquote, the rumor they started themselves. Coincidentally or not, I spent hundreds of dollars over the past few weeks because my websites have been hacked. I'd love to know if any other alternative media sites have these same issues. If you have information on this, drop me a quick private message on Facebook. This is a real SHIT show, or storm, isn't it? This is contributed by Daisy Luther of Daisy Luther, and it's on the Daily Sheeple. I leave links below for you for this. There's also an embedded video if you like.